I predicted it, of course, in my book, Get Trump, and now I'm going to predict that the first thing Trump does is fire his lawyers, which he should have done before the trial rather than after the trial. His lawyers did not do a good job. And what worries me as an appellate lawyer is that they didn't do a good job preserving the record for appeal. They focused exclusively on the trial, which is what many trial lawyers erroneously do. You know that because you and I met over an appeal many, many years ago, which we both won. But you can't win an appeal if the lawyers below didn't create a record for appeal. And they didn't do that here, particularly the missing witness, the issue of the failure to allow the expert witness to testify, even though the prosecution
is that
was
not
allowed
preserved?
to say. Well,
I mean, are you telling me that because that's pretty, I mean, not preserving an issue for appeal is pretty fatal for a trial lawyer. I mean, that's sort of, routine. I mean, it is routine.
Yeah, they did a very bad job on the issue of the missing witness. Apparently, according at least to Arthur Aidala, who was in the courthouse, this was not in the transcript. Apparently, the judge gave the defense an opportunity to call Weiselberg outside the hearing of the jury and to see whether they want to call him or not, and they didn't do that. And they never got a missing witness instruction, nor were they able to argue that the key witness to the uncorroborated statement of the only witness to the elements of the crime was never called by the prosecution, although the prosecution could have called him and given him immunity. There are a lot of other issues. I'll tell
you what's shocking to me.
Yeah.
First of all, and taking sort of a global look at them, I mean, there are a lot of things that I thought were grossly unfair, and having tried cases, and grossly unfair about it, and I disagree with the rulings. But you have an indictment that is so unclear. I don't know what he's charged with. I just don't know the crime. So the first time, and charging document is supposed to inform the person, here's what you're up against. Then the first time I hear anything is an opening statement by the prosecutor when he says that the conspiracy is to commit election interference, and influence an election, which, of course, every politician does that, so I'm not quite clear on that. Then we go through the trial, still uncertain what it is. Then you get to closing arguments, and in the federal system, and in what I'm accustomed to, the prosecution goes first. So at least you can find out finally what it is that the prosecution said you did. Well, instead, in this instance, the defense is going forward, having no idea what you're arguing against, does a closing argument, does it for 2 hours, and then the prosecution has a 5.5 hour, and you have no chance to rebut it. None.
That's clearly error, and it wasn't preserved as far as I know. The rule in New York generally is that the defense goes first, which is absurd, violates the privilege against self-incrimination, violates due process. But in a case like this, where you don't even know what the charges are, to have the charges laid out for the first time in the closing argument without the defense having an opportunity to rebut should have been a major issue that was raised and preserved by the defense, and they didn't do it as far as I can tell. Look, I have to read the whole transcript before I second-guess the lawyers, but I can tell you I was in the courthouse enough, and I know enough about this to know this was not a distinguished performance by a great defense lawyer. Trump could have gotten a lot better, and I hope he gets a lot better on appeal, even though it's going to be hard to win this appeal. No judge in New York is going to want to have to go to events in New York and people point the finger at him saying, that's the guy who allowed Trump to run for president. He's the reason that he's our next president. Nobody wants that in New York, and so it's very hard to get a fair shake in New York at the trial level or even at the appellate level. Yeah.
Well, even if you didn't have that demographic, how about this? You're charged with falsifying business records to perhaps influence an election, whatever that crime is. I don't know. First of all, if it's a federal crime, the New York State has no business prosecuting because it's not within their jurisdiction. But in the meantime, the judge permits into evidence Stormy Daniels to come into court and describe the president's sexual positions, apparently, and what he was wearing has nothing to do with the trial whatsoever. And he permits the jury to hear it. The prosecution had to know that she was going to blurt that out. There's no way you can cure that. There was absolutely zero probative value, but it's just one more sort of effort to poison the jury. It's not to be fair.
Yeah, but they didn't object sufficiently, according to the judge.